Welcome, everyone.
Hi, Mr. Mike.
Hello, so good to see all of you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Good to see you again.
Yes, and some new faces too. I like this.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello. So
How are you, Sarah?
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hello, Sarah. And
Hi, how are you?
Afaf, good to see you too.
Hi. Good night.
Welcome, Mr. Mike.
All right.
How is your daughter, Sarah?
She's fine. Thank you.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. Good.
Hi.
Can you remember Nisreen?
Yes,
Mike, you remember Nisreen? Nisreen
Yes.
joins us today.
very much so. Yes. This is fun. It's good to see everyone.
Yes, good to see you again.
It is like a reunion.
كمان تغريد داخلي معنا فيولا.
تغريد اللي هي مكتوب زوم مش عارفة ايه كده. اهلا بيكي. طب اغير الاسم حاضر علشان تتعرف بس.
تغريد ختام. مرحبا.
مرحب بيكي. طيب اغير بس الاسم اعمل تشينج ذا نيم.
Yeah.
اوكي زوم يوزر.
All right, Viola, what we will do tonight, first off, you make sure that everyone that you know is coming is here before we begin. And then we will go through as though no one has been here before. We will start from the very beginning, so no one has to feel as though they are missing anything. And we'll start in a few minutes, but why don't you look at the list to make sure that everyone who had spoken to you and said they were coming is here, so we don't leave someone out.
I think almost all join.
Okay.
Except Megid, but I tried to call him, he didn't answer. Maybe he's busy with work. Maybe, I don't know.
Okay, well,
Most of people now, we are 20.
oh, okay, very good.
Yes.
20 is a good number.
Hi,
Yeah.
teacher. Hi, teacher.
Hello. Hello. Good.
My
Good to
name
have you all here.
Tagreed Kizam.
Ah, nice to meet you.
I'm
Nice
new
to
in
meet
your class.
I'm looking forward to the number of weeks we get to spend together. And
Yeah.
all of you hopefully will be just like Shaza, and you will graduate with citizenship at the very end.
Yes.
Yes. That is our hope and our prayer.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going through tonight the requirements that you have, talk a little bit about the test.
Hello, Mr. Mike. Hello, everybody.
Hello. And I'm going to be sharing the screen. I don't know how familiar all of you are.
Hello, Madam Viola.
أهلا يا أميرة حبيبتي ازيك.
Hello, Amina. So I will be sharing the screen and putting things up on the screen so that we can all see together. And when I do that, if you have any questions, or if there's anything that I say that you do not understand, please speak up so that Madam Viola can translate if necessary. And we will pause along the way for her to translate anyway, because some of the words and some of the concepts are not going to be easy. So I don't know, Viola, if you want to translate that.
هو هيعمل شير السكرين. هو أولا بيرحب بكم كلكم، والنهارده دي بداية جديدة لكلاس جديد بالنسبة للسيتيزن، فيبدأ معاكم من البداية، وهو عايز يوريكم دلوقتي هيعمل شير للسكرين لإيه المتطلبات اللي المفروض نكون نعرفها الخاصة بالامتحان بتاع السيتيزن. أوكي؟ لو سمحتوا في حد داخل بالآيفون. Can you tell me your name please؟ آيفون.
أنا كلود.
لا مش أنتي، أنا غيرتك.
جمانة.
وليد.
What's your name please؟
وليد.
أنا غيرتك يا تغريد، هتلاقي اسمك موجود. What's your name؟
وليد.
وليد. Okay.
Yes, there are two of them that say just
I
iPhone.
want to make attendance sheet.
أنت لا.
Yes. أنا شايفاك يا زبيدة، شفتك صدقيني. أهلا يا زبيدة، نشغل الصورة بقى علشان نشوف الكل.
مدام فيولا، هو أنا لما أخش باسمي ولا أخش؟ أنا دخلت VOR.
لك يا أميرة، أنت شايفة دلوقتي اسمك مكتوب.
يعني بعد كده باسمي؟
انا غيرت اوريدي
يعني اخش باسمي بعد كده؟
ماجد.
طبعا علشان بنعمل اتندنس شيت.
اوكي ثانك يو.
ويلكم.
My name is ماجد.
ماجد ولا وليد؟
ماجد وفي ماجد.
Welcome, Magid.
Hi sir.
another ماجد.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, I
we
see.
can never have too many Magids.
Yeah. So
Okay.
let me change the name 1 minute. ماجد مين طب عشان التاني ماجد سلامة.
ماجد عبده. بس هو السنة في الشغل دلوقتي يعني فاتح وانا في الشغل.
ما فيش مشكلة.
اوكي.
أهلا وسهلا بيك. Okay. Yes.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
I will begin now, and I am going to put up on the screen, share the screen with a picture and all of the information that I'm going to show you. Madam Viola has it, and she can send it to you if you do not already have it. Some of you already have it, I realize. If you're brand new and you don't have it, you will want to make sure that you are on WhatsApp with Viola so that she can get information to you as we do the class.
First, I want to ask them to register. All of you, please, can you call me tomorrow so we can register? Or I will send you the link to register. So we will have your email address so we can send you all document and all information. يعني أنا حابة إن كل الناس تسجل. هبعت لكم اللينك والكل يسجل. التسجيل ده مهم قوي علشان نقدر نتواصل. اي دوكيومنت اي حاجه عايزه تتبعت تقدر توصل لكم عن طريق الايميل.
Yeah, please, Viola. Yeah, okay.
Madam Viola and Mr. Mike, goodbye, and I hope the all get citizenship.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Shaza.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Shaza.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you
Thank you
tomorrow.
for sharing.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. The things that we are going to cover in this class are preparing you for answering the questions. There are 100 questions that your interviewer will choose from, and we will walk through, or we will discuss the answers to all of those questions. We will also discuss the N400, which is the application, to make sure that you understand that, because many of the questions they may ask you will be questions directly from the application. So in the next few weeks, we will be going through that, all 100 questions, the application, and then we will have a reading and vocabulary test also. And the reading and vocabulary are things that you are going to have to be able to understand for the interviewer. They don't try to make it too difficult, but you are going to have to speak and read English. Okay, here is an overview, and you can see on the paper. You are going to have to, like I said, you're going to have the ability to speak and understand English, and you will not have to be perfect. You do not have to do it perfectly, but you're going to have to be able to use English. There was a while where there was a different test, and anything that you look up online, it is the 2008 version of the test that you want to be looking at and using. So there was a 2020 version, but you don't want to look at that test. You want to just look at the 2008 version. If you are 65, you will be asked less questions than if you are younger than that. And if you are younger than that, then all of the 100 questions are questions that they have available to ask you. You want to translate any of that, Viola? You're muted right now.
And the question 9.
Sorry, I don't understand. I am Naeem Haddad. I have a question. I have 67 years old.
Okay.
And what's the question for me?
Okay. If you are 65 years old.
67.
That's fine. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And if you or older, then there are fewer questions that they will choose from to talk to you about. And as we go through the sheets, as we go through the papers and we go through the questions, there's an asterisk mark, just like this, next to the questions that they will choose to ask you from. And they are the only ones you need to learn and understand. The other questions, you do not have to be held accountable or do not have to know. So if you're older, like me, like you, if you're older, then you have less questions you have to learn. Does that make sense?
Every question has a star for him, yes?
Yeah, if it has a star, then that is one of the 20 questions that
20
they may
questions.
ask you from if you are over 65.
Yeah. I'm 65.
This is good. Thank you.
You're very welcome. When they administer or when they give you the test, the person that will do that is not trying to make things hard on you. They are not trying to cause you to fail. Their goal is to help you succeed. So they're not going to be making it very difficult for you. They just want to know that you know the information and you understand basic English and you understand how to both read and write basic English. The requirements, and you can see those in front of you here, the requirements have some exceptions, and those exceptions have to do with how old you are and how long you have been living in the US. For example, if you are 50 or older and you have been a legal permanent resident for at least 20 years, which means you would have moved here when you were 30, you have to answer, you're still required to take the civics test and the language, but you can use an interpreter. If you're 55 or older and you've been here for 15 years, then you also have the same exemption. And if you are 65, you're still required to take a test, but it's from lesser questions, only 20 questions you have to learn. Viola, do you want to translate any of that? You're muted right now, Viola.
بس فيولا انت حاطه كتم.
حكايه ان السن الكبير ان هو بيسال اسئله اقل، اللي هي السؤال اللي عليه النجمه ده، في شرط انك انت اكتر من 55 سنه اسئله اقل، لكن لازم تكون قعدت في امريكا 15 سنه. فهو اهو خلي بالكم الاكسبشن هنا مكتوب فيها at least 15 years. ليك يعني اكتر من 55 سنه بس ليكي 15 سنه ساعه لما بتملي الابلكيشن يكون ليكي في امريكا اكتر من 15 سنه. ده اللي سنه 55. اللي سنه 65 لازم يكون قاعد في امريكا 20 سنه. فالمهم ان هي كمان مطلوب معاها مده في امريكا، مش فكره السن بس. ماشي.
طب وقبلها بايش كانت فيولا؟
بالنسبه للي هي 65 سنه او اكبر وقعد هنا 20 سنه ممكن يدخل معاه مترجم.
واللي قاعد 7-8 سنين؟
لا، هو حاطين الشرط اهو، قروها 15 سنه، شايفينها اللي هي الاكزامشن هنا تحتيها، في اللي هي 15 سنه وفي ال 20 سنه. ايه الحاجه اللي ممكن اللانجوج بتاعتك تقدر تمتحني بيها والاسئله المحدده اللي هي عليها نجمه.
يلي قاعد بس 7-8 سنين عادي بيدرسهم كلهم؟
لا عادي طبعا.
اوكي.
بس فيولا ممكن ترجمي لنا ايش حكى بالبدايه؟
ما هي هو دلوقتي بيشرح ايه الاشتراطات
بس على العمر
المطلوبه علشان تدخلي التيست. فهو شرح في الاول ان التيست هتمتحني في الاول انك انت في حاجه اسمه سيفيك تيست، اللي هو الامتحان الاسئله ال 100 سؤال اللي هو شرحها في الاول اللي هي بتاعت سنه 2008. خلاص؟ 100 سؤال هتتسالي في 10 اسئله وتحلي منهم 6 بس. لو جاوبتي 6 صح خلاص مش هيكمل معاكي تاني.
تمام.
اوكي. Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Please.
All right. Now, the speaking test, when you have your test, the speaking test, they will want to make sure that you understand common phrases and common words. They're not going to give you very long or very complicated words. They're going to be words that are very common in the language. Many of them will be words that are right off of the N400 application. So we will go through the application and make sure that we increase your vocabulary by what is on the application. There also is a list of vocabulary words, and we will go over those words to make sure you understand them. Most of those words occur within the tests, or excuse me, within the questions. So one of the reasons for increasing your vocabulary by these words is so that you understand all of the questions when they ask you.
الامتحان كمان بينقسم بعد ال 100 سؤال دول في امتحان اللي هو speaking اللي هي reading والwriting. السبيكنج هو مستر مايك هيمشي معانا في ال 100 سؤال هيشرحهم لنا، وبعد كده هيدينا كلمات اللي هي الفوكابلري علشان عملية النطق وعملية والقراية. وبيقول انك انت لما تحفظي الكلمات ديت مأخوذة من ال 100 سؤال، فبحيث ان انت لما تحفظي الكلمات ديت وانت بتذاكري ال 100 سؤال هتبقي فاهماهم. خلاص؟ ماشي اوكي.
Okay, so that is enough. We will get to more of that later on through the weeks as we're studying, but I just wanted you to be familiar with the reading and the writing test and the vocabulary so that you know that we are going to cover it. I don't want you worried about that. I just want you to know we're going to be going through it. Now, the actual questions, they cover several different categories of information. One of them deals with the American democracy. Another one deals with how our government is established. And the other one deals with our history. And then finally, it deals with our geography. All of these are the categories or the subjects that we're going to be going through in the questions. And again, these questions, all of them can be sent to you, and you can have them in front of you to prepare before we have our classes.
ال 100 سؤال دول متقسمين لمجموعات كاتيجوري. في مجموعة خاصة بالديمقراسي، في مجموعة خاصة بالجيوغرافي، في مجموعة يعني هو هيشرحهم هيقسمهم على حسب التقسيمة بتاعتهم، هو يشرحهم. فهو بيقول إن أنا هعدي في كل المجموعات دي بالأسئلة بتاعتها. كلهم هناخدهم يعني وهنفهمهم كويس طول فترة الكلاسز.
The other thing I want you to understand is the purpose of this class is to make you ready to take the test and be successful. So if you have been here for less than 7 years or less than 5 years, and you have a long time until you have your interview and your test, we can do this many times until you learn it. Afaf is a good example of someone who's been in the class many times, and that is okay. Viola has been through the class many times, but she also became a citizen. So there are opportunities for you to go through the class as many times as you need. I will be here to answer any questions that I can as often and as much as you need it so that you can be successful.
بيقول الغرض من الكلاس بتاع السيتيزن دوت ان انا همشي معاكم في الاسئله سؤال سؤال لغايه لما تحفظوهم كويس جدا، بحيث ان انتوا لما ان شاء الله تمتحنوا تعدوا التيست بنجاح باذن الله.
واو.
قال انا متواجد معاكم حتى ولو خلصنا الكلاسز، اي حد عنده اي اسئله انا متواجد معاكم، وكل حد عايز يسال في اي حاجه. واثناء الكلاسز برضو اي حد عايز يسال في اي حاجه، لان انا اكتر حاجه يعني هو مهتم بيها ان كل الناس اللي حضرت معانا تنجح زي الناس اللي نجحت وعدت في المجموعه.
Thank you.
ان شاء الله. Thank you.
Viola, let's find out, do we have any who do not understand some English or Arabic? Do we have any Dari or Pashto or Urdu?
Yes, we have Dari.
Dari? Okay.
Yes, we have about 5 or 6 Dari.
Okay. Then what we need to
Yes,
do is
teacher.
make sure that they understand that we will have the same patience with them and language, even though we do not have a Dari speaker with us each class.
Yeah, about the Dari speaker or Pashto, Afghanis. You understand the English? I think all of them
Yes,
understand.
yes, yes.
Very English, yes.
Okay,
So they can, yes.
all right.
The teacher.
Yes.
My name is Rasul Ismati. I just
Yeah.
joined the class today.
Very
Yes.
good.
I'm thinking that in a state of translation, sometimes, of course, translation help also. But if we listen the exact English words from you, that help a lot, because actually the citizenship meaning is the English. Not, I don't think that during that times they are asking about translation. But you know, sometimes it looks like we need, you know, we need to understand each other in English.
And you are correct. Thank you for clarifying that. What I want to make sure is, as those who are learning, if they are not as familiar with the English language, that they understand the words, not just hear them. So, and your comprehension is very good, and your understanding and your speaking of English is very good. I compliment you on that. And I want to make sure that as we go through this, everyone has the same understanding, because you are correct. They will not give you the test in Arabic or in Dari or in Pashto or Urdu or any other language. They will only give it to you in English. So you'll want to learn these words. And I will speak as clearly and plainly as I can so that you can understand the English. So thank you for that. And yes, you will need to learn it in English. So that's why I'm going to be speaking it in English. But if someone doesn't understand what I say so that they can learn it, please don't hesitate to stop, so that we can make sure you understand a concept or a principle. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we all not very good in English, not the same.
Yes, you are right.
Yes,
I know that.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, Anna, we will help. We will help.
Yeah, thank you, Viola. Thank you.
Okay, we are going to begin. And the first thing we are going to do is talk about our American democracy. Democracy in America is, in fact, it is fairly new to the world, because our country is only 270 years old, and many of you come from countries that are thousands of years old. So democracy in the United States is a fairly new thing in the world. And we have some terms associated with democracy that you're going to want to understand and learn. For example, we have a phrase that is called the supreme law of the land. And the first question in the 100 questions, the first one is, what is the supreme law of the land? And the answer to that is the Constitution. There's only one correct answer. And the Constitution is a document that we will be reviewing as we go through the class, because there are many questions about the Constitution throughout the 100 questions. But you need to know that if someone refers to what is the top, the upmost, the supreme law of the land, it is the Constitution that sets the mark for everything.
Okay. هو بيتكلم عن طريقة السياسة في أمريكا الديمقراطي، اللي هي ديمقراسي، وبالرغم من أن أمريكا تعتبر لها العمر الافتراضي بتاعها حوالي 270 سنة، لكن هم أكتر ناس يعني اتبعوا الديمقراطية. إحنا جايين من بلاد ممكن يكون لها سنين، آلافات السنين، لكن أمريكا باعتبار أن هي مدتها صغيرة، لكن مع ذلك هم عندهم الديمقراطية هي اللي بتحكم البلد. ايه القانون الرئيسي اللي بيحكم البلد، اللي هو السوبريم لو اوف ذا لاند، اللي هو constitution اللي هو مقصود بيها الدستور.
Everyone that is a US citizen has a voice in our country, but the system that we have to use our voice to accomplish things through is called a representative democracy. It is a democracy where we elect officials and they speak on our behalf and they speak for us. And our representative democracy is national, it is statewide, and it is local. And we will be dealing with all aspects of that. The first or the second question deals with what the Constitution is for. What does it do? And there are three important things that it does. One is it tells us how the government needs to be set up. it defines each portion or part of the government, and it defines the rights of every American citizen. Each of those are very, very important items that the Constitution accomplishes. And so you need to understand, when we get into talking about the executive, the legislative, and the judicial branch of government, the Constitution explains how they are supposed to function and who are the people within each of those branches.
هو ملخص اللي قاله ان الكونستيتيوشن اللي هو الدستور دوت بيوضح ان في ناس اللي هم الاعضاء اللي بيمثلوا الشعب، اللي هو زي المجلس الشعب يعني، دول بيختاروا بالشعب نفسه، وفي نفس الوقت هم اللي بيبقوا ممثلين الاصوات بتاعتنا، احنا اللي بنختارهم وهم في نفس الوقت هم اللي بيمثلوا الشعب، المطالب بتاعت الشعب. اما بالنسبه للكونستيتيوشن ايه المهام بتاعته؟ ان هو اللي بيشكل الحكومه، وهو اللي بيكون الحكومه، وان هو بيحمي protects basic rights of America، اللي هي الحقوق الاساسيه بتاعت كل الامريكان.
excuse me، انا عندي سؤال. بس يسالونا السؤال اذا في 3 اجوبه بدنا نجاوب 3 اجوبه،
لو تجاوبي اجابه واحده بس، الا اذا طلب اكتر من اجابه. هي بعض الاسئله بيقول لك قولي 2. She asking about when they ask about one question and they
here number 2, what does the constitution do? بدنا نجاوبهم كلهم.
More than one answering. Should she ask? She will answer about one answering as they request, or she has to answer the 3?
Each of the answers are correct within themselves, but if they do say, okay, yes, it helps sets up the government, can you tell me another thing that it does? They may ask for more than one. It is not, in fact, as we go through the 100 questions, you will see where it says you only have to name 1, you only have to name 3, you only have to name. In this case here, it is good for you, it is best for you to know all 3 things that it does, because they may ask you to define even more clearly after you give your answer.
في كل الأسئلة يا كلود، ما دام طالب إجابة واحدة هتجاوبي إجابة واحدة، ما دام طالب 2 هتقولي 2. بس بالنسبة للكونستيتيوشن ال3 دول مهمين قوي قوي إن أنتوا تكونوا عارفين.
Oh yes, thank you.
Okay, question number 3. We're only going to go through 10 questions tonight, just because I want you to get comfortable with it, and I want to make sure everyone gets the document. So don't worry, we're not going to be giving you too much to do tonight. Question number 3 is the idea of self-government is in the first 3 words of the Constitution, and you have to be able to remember these words. They are what's called the preamble or the beginning of the Constitution. Those 3 words are we the people. That's correct, yes. And when I was in school, see, some of you can already teach this, you already know that. When I was in school many years ago, we had to memorize this first portion. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberties to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish the Constitution of the United States of America. Now, I didn't read that just then. I did that from memory, because when I was a schoolboy, we had to learn that, because the we the people is very important in our understanding that we are not a government where we have a dictator. It is a government of the people, for the people, and by the people.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're, as you read the information, you can see other terms in here, like this is called popular sovereignty. It means the populace. It means the people are the ones who are basically or ultimately in charge. We get to vote, and when we vote, either we accept somebody in their position or we remove them from their position. In many of the countries you come from, you do not have that choice. You cannot choose who your leaders are going to be, and if you don't like them, you do not have a voice to remove them. In our country, you get a voice, and everyone who is a citizen gets to vote, and they choose who they want to represent them. Now, not everyone agrees, so that's why we have some who win and some who lose in any kind of election. So We the people, very important. When you become a citizen, like Madam Viola, you are part of we the people.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, now our Constitution looks differently. Yes, it looks different today than it did when they first wrote it. And it looks even different than it did when I was a child. So 70 years ago, there have been changes in the last 70 years to our Constitution. And every time there is a change, a permanent change, the way they change it is through something called an amendment. So question number 4 is, what is an amendment? And the answers, and either one of these answers is accurate. It's either a change to the Constitution or an addition to the Constitution. And the amendments are, they are laws that are put into place through a process. And that process involves Congress, the legislative branch. It involves the president, the executive branch. And to make sure that it agrees with the overall Constitution, it involves the judicial branch. So what is an amendment? It is a change to the Constitution. And all 3 branches have a part in making those changes.
Yeah. لما اتكتب الدستور اتكتب بطريقة معينة، لكن بعد كده حصلت إضافات وتغييرات. الإضافات والتغييرات هي الأمندمنت. فعشان كده لما يسألك إيه هي الأمندمنت اللي هي المرفقات يعني للدستور، فبتقولوا a change or addition. يبقى change to the constitution أي تغييرات حصلت للconstitution، أو addition إضافات للconstitution. ودي دايما بتكون شاملة حاجات تخص السلطة التنفيذية، السلطة التشريعية، السلطة القضائية، وفي نفس الوقت بتخص برضو كالرئيس نفسه.
Okay. When those changes are made or those amendments are made, it also it is necessary for 2/3 or 66%, 67% of the US Senate to agree with them. So nothing becomes a law or an amendment in our Constitution without the majority of the people agreeing it is a good law. Now, there are 10 First Amendments to the Constitution, and we call that the Bill of Rights. In fact, that's question number 5. What do we call the first 10 amendments to the Constitution? When they were first approving the Constitution, they recognized that there were certain freedoms not spoken of in the Constitution. And so many of the framers or the founders of the country said, we will approve the Constitution if we will include a basic list of rights. And we will go through these rights. I will read through them and define them tonight, but we'll go through them in more detail as we get through more and more of the questions. But you need to understand that right after the Constitution was approved, the 10 amendments or the Bill of Rights was approved. And the Bill of Rights states the basic freedoms that we have in the US. So I'm going to read through them just so you hear the language of it. We'll define them as we move on. For example, question number 6 deals with the First Amendment. So we'll get through these over time, but I'm going to read through all of them right now so that you hear them and hear the words. The First Amendment is the freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, and petition. I think you can all see that on the screen. Let me enlarge it a little bit.
Yes.
The Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. That means to possess weapons. The Third Amendment protects us against the quartering of troops. Now that word is a word we don't use very much, but here's what it means. It protects us against the military coming and taking over your home and saying that's where they are going to put their soldiers. There's an amendment that says the government cannot do that. They cannot come over and say, I'm taking your house, that's where we're going to have all of our soldiers sleep. That's not how it works. And the reason for that amendment is the British, and we'll get to our history, the British did that to the colonies before we became the US. So they were very sensitive to that. They did not want their homes taken over by the government. The Fourth Amendment protects against illegal search, and seizure of property. The government cannot take your property, nor can they search it without a reason and without a reason from the courts. They can't just knock on your door, burst into your home, and start looking at things and looking for things. Some of the countries you come from, they can do that. The police can do whatever they want to without having any legal right to do it. Not in the US. They cannot do that without a reason or what we call a warrant. Number 5, it ensures due process and protects against eminent domain, provides rules of criminal hearings, and protects against self-incrimination. I will define that for you. It means that everybody is allowed to be considered innocent until proven guilty. That is what due process is. The courts have to go through a process with you to prove your guilt. In some countries around the world, you have to prove your innocence, not in the US. In the US, it has to be proven that you are guilty of a crime. And it protects against the government seizing things or seizing or taking any of your rights away from you or your possessions. And there are certain rules in court proceedings. For example, you are guaranteed a right by trial by jury, which means your peers get to listen to the evidence to decide whether you are guilty or innocent. And it protects against you having to commit to yourself or offer a confession of whether you did or didn't do something without having the benefit of an attorney or a lawyer. So the Fifth Amendment is a very important amendment. Is everybody understanding me as I continue to go through these? Want me to continue?
هو دلوقتي شرح ال10 amendment اللي هم السؤال بتاعهم البيل اوف رايت. البيل اوف رايت اللي هي الحقوق الوثائقية. فهو شرح دلوقتي ال10 amendment. ممكن تجي لنا بعض منهم في بعض أسئلة زي السؤال اللي هو الخامس بعد كده. ايه الحرية اللي انت في الامندمنت المذكورة في الامندمنت نمبر 1 اللي هي freedom of speech, freedom of religion اللي هو الديانة او الصحافة او التعبير عن الرأي او اختيار الحكومة. دي كلها حاجات حرة. دي اللي اتضافت في الامندمنت نمبر 1 اللي هي الموافقات نمبر 1. لكن طبعا مش مطلوب ان احنا نعرف نحفظهم كلهم يعني.
Yeah.
معرفة لمجرد هو بيعرفنا ايه.
Only the number 1.
Okay. Number 1 is freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, and petition.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you will need to know all of these at one point because there are different questions concerning each one of them. But I just want to make sure that you're understanding me as I go through them.
هو دلوقتي شرحهم كلهم لأن في بعض أسئلة هتقابلنا بعد كده مضمونها amendment من الامندمنت دول.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Amendment number 6 is the right to a speedy and public trial. You cannot be arrested and thrown into jail and kept there without anything happening. They can't just throw you in a dungeon or put you in a place and leave you there without telling you why you are being there, without telling you, without giving you a trial to prove whether you are guilty or innocent. Number 7 provides stipulations for civil trials, not criminal, not where you do something that's criminal, but civil, which means where one person is suing another party because they feel they were treated unjustly. So if you feel someone, when they tried to sell you a car, they did it wrong and they cheated you, that would be a civil trial as opposed to a criminal trial. And then number 8 protects against excessive bail, which means they cannot put you in jail and say the only way you're getting out of jail is if you give me $1 million. That's excessive unless your crime is very, very severe, like sometimes happens where people go and they shoot a whole school full of children. Unless your crime is very severe, they won't set a high bail. If it's a a minor crime, then the bail should be set for a minor crime. And they cannot treat you with cruel and unusual punishment. Number 9 says that the rights listed in the Constitution are not all the rights that you have. You even have more rights than that, but they just didn't list them. If they list every single right you have, then the document would be too large. And then question 10 is the states. It states that all powers not granted to the federal or national government or forbidden to each state belong to the states. For example, if the state of Virginia decides that they want to have rules and the Constitution doesn't talk about that, like driving rules, a certain age to drive, what the test looks like, they can do that. The federal government does not control that. The state controls that. Because it's not spoken of in the Constitution, it's the responsibility of the state. So those are the Bill of Rights. That's what the basic definition is for each of those. Do you have any questions on any of those specifically before we go on?
Yeah. هو شرح دلوقتي ال10 amendment اللي اتضافوا اللي هم بيتقال عليهم البيل اوف رايتس، فهو شرحهم كلهم. مضمونهم ان مفيش حد يقدر يحطك في السجن غير اذا كانت فعلا في قضية وفي حاجة جريمة معينة انت عملتيها. مفيش حد يقدر يطلب منك مثلا $1,000,000 وانت ما عملتيش حاجة يعني تستحق. كل حاجة لازم تكون بالعدل يعني وبالمظبوط. في بعض قوانين تخص الفيدرال وفي بعض قوانين تخص الستيت نفسها. دي كلها حاجات هنلاقيها في الأسئلة اللي بعد كده يعني. بس هو شرح كل الامندمنت ال10 دلوقتي.
Okay.
Okay.
The next question, number 6, is, and here is where it tells you only have to name one. What is one right or freedom from the First Amendment? You only have to know one of these, and you get to choose which one you remember. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to gather or assembly, freedom to put in print, like a newspaper or online, freedom of press, and freedom to tell the government, I believe there needs to be a change. That's what petition the government means. It means you are allowed to say to the government, there are 2,000 of us who believe that this should be changed. And you can make a petition and submit it to the government. These rights are guaranteed by the Constitution, and the government cannot take these rights away from you. For example, the freedom of religion, which we will talk about a little bit later. You have the right to follow or not follow a religion. You can choose to have no religion, or you can choose to have a religion, and you have a right to practice that religion according to what the religion believes. So you just have to remember one of these: speech, religion, assembly, press, or petition the government.
Yeah.
Okay. The next is, how many amendments does the Constitution have? It has 27. There's only one answer, only one right answer to that. 27. The last one was added in 1992, which shows you that our Constitution is even changing in the modern world, because that was only 30 years ago. There were less when I was a young boy. They have added amendments since then. So when you become a citizen, you have a voice in the changing of the Constitution. And so the first 10 amendments were agreed to in 1791, and you don't have to remember that. Again, the question is, how many are there? You just have to know the answer to that, and the answer is 27. Okay. The next question, number 8, is what did the Declaration of Independence do? We will talk more about the history, but for right now, you need to understand that there was a document that was written. It was written in 1776, and it was signed by all of the people whose signatures are down below here on this document. It was signed by these gentlemen And it was their declaring to Britain, Great Britain, that we are no longer going to be under your rule or under your control. They disagreed with the way that Great Britain was treating them, and they announced their independence. So if you are looking at this question, there are 3 different ways that you can say the answer. You can say it announced our independence from Great Britain. It declared our independence, and that's why we call it a declaration of independence. Or it said the United States is going to be free from Great Britain. All of those are accurate answers, and you only have to give one of them. They all mean the same thing. And so that's question number 8. And by the way, when we celebrate July 4th, we have fireworks and people have parties and everything else. That is our Independence Day. And it is the day that the Declaration of Independence was first read to the public. Okay?
Declaration of Independence اللي هو إعلان الاستقلال، والاستقلال من مين؟ من جريت بريتن اللي هي بريطانيا العظمى. بعد كده هندرس في التاريخ، في الأسئلة اللي هي خاصة بالتاريخ، كل الحاجات اللي هي خاصة بإعلان الاستقلال. إعلان الاستقلال اللي هي الصفحة اللي انتوا شايفينها، والناس اللي ماضية فيها تحت دي، إن هم دول اللي كتبوا الدستور، وهم دول اللي أعلنوا الاستقلال بتاع أمريكا. والاستقلال بتاع أمريكا كان يوم 4 جولاي، عشان كده دايما بيحتفلوا 4th of July، الصواريخ اللي بتضرب والنار والفاير وورك والحاجات دي. ده إعلان الاستقلال أمريكا من جريت بريتن اللي هي بريطانيا العظمى.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Then number 9, what are 2 rights that are expressed in the Declaration of Independence? And you have heard these terms before, and I'll define them so that you understand it, but it says that everybody is guaranteed by their creator to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So life meaning you have a right to choose where to live and how you live, as long as you don't violate any of the laws. You have the right to liberty, which is to make your choices. You have freedom to make choices, and you have a right to do that which satisfies you, which is the pursuit of happiness. So if you want to own a business and run a business, you do not have to get permission from somebody to do that. You may have to get a license so that the city knows that you're doing it, but you don't have to say, can I start a business? No, you can. That is a pursuit of happiness. It is a choice for your life, and it is your liberty to do it. You don't have to give up any of those rights or liberties. And when we were under Great Britain as a colony, we didn't get those choices. So you need to know 2 of those. What are 2 rights in the Declaration of Independence? And there are 3 of them to choose from: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
زي ما انت سألت يا خلود قبل كده ان لازم نجاوب إجابة واحدة. مثلا السؤال رقم 9 بيقول لك what are 2؟
Yes.
عن 2 2 rights of in the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
هما life, liberty and the pursuit of happiness، اللي هي الحياة تعيشي براحتك في المكان اللي انت عايزاه، من طول ما انت ما بتختاريش قانون او بتعملي حاجة غلط. وليبرتي الحرية، وبرسوت هابينس انك انت بتمارسي حياتك بطريقة حلوة، عايزة تعملي بيزنس، عايزة تعملي اي حاجة، تكسبي كسب مشروع، ما فيش اي مشاكل بينهم.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, the founders of our country believed these were God-given rights for all of mankind. And where they were living under a king where that wasn't the case. Okay, this is the last one we're going to deal with tonight. Because again, as I said, I don't want to give you too much on the first night. I want you to get familiar with everything, hearing me speak and hearing the answers to these questions. And then I want you to make sure that you read through many things before we have a chance to get together next week. And by the way, I just want to mention, next week, next Monday, I'm going to be in Atlanta. I'm not going to be in California. I'm going to be Atlanta, but I will do this remotely from Atlanta. So I will be on Zoom, From there, in my hotel room, I have to go to a conference, and we will still have the class next week.
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Thank
هو
you.
الأسبوع الجاي يكون في أتلانتا، لكن برضه هيدخل معانا من أتلانتا من
Yeah.
البيت.
Thank you, Mr. Mike.
Oh, yes.
وبيقول إن أنا مش عايزة أكتر أكتر من 10 أسئلة بس النهاردة بإجاباتهم بالشرح بتاعهم، علشان ما تاخدوش حاجات كتيرة وتتلخبطوا وتحفظوهم كويس قوي، عشان الأسبوع الجاي إن شاء الله تتسألوا في ال10 أسئلة.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pastor.
Oh, you are very welcome. And here's the last question for tonight. What is freedom of religion? And this is a very, very important one, because when our country was founded, the first Europeans who came here, they came here because they did not have the freedom to practice their religion the way they wanted to. Many of them were in England, but they weren't just in England. They came from Holland, they came from Germany, they came from many countries. And in many of those countries, they were told, this is how you will practice your religion. And they did not want it to be that way in this country. And so when they arrived here, the way that they worded this right is you can practice any religion or not practice a religion at all. And you need to know that we welcome in this country people who practice different religions. That doesn't mean we agree with all of their beliefs, but we welcome them, and they have just as much right to practice their beliefs as we have to practice ours. And when I say we and ours, each individual can have their own religion and their own faith and practice it the way, as long as it doesn't violate somebody else's rights and as long as it doesn't violate the law. And as you can see here, Spain, France, Holland, England, all of these countries were very much oppressing or had very heavy hands or thumbs on the way religion was done in their countries. So it's a very, very important thing to us that people do not interfere with how we practice religion. And I'll give you a very good example. Many churches and synagogues and mosques were told because of COVID that they had to close down. And there were very many discussions going on whether the government had the right to tell us that we could not practice our religion, which meant if we wanted to gather outside in a park, if we wanted to gather in a building, they said, as long as you aren't creating greater health harm for people, we said we should be able to do that. Well, the government almost overstepped their boundaries. In fact, it was proven that they did overstep their boundaries when they told churches they could not meet. And that meant Jewish synagogues or Muslim mosques. And they had to change that. They had to step back and say, okay, we were wrong. You can meet. We don't have the right to tell you, you have to stop. Now, as long as you are following healthy rules, so you're not having people die because they get COVID, then you're okay. And so this is a very, very important right for those of us in the US. Any questions or comments on that?
No, thank you.
Okay. And so, yeah. Now, go ahead, please.
I have 3 questions, but when you've finished, I will ask.
Okay, all right. The one last thing I want to say about this is there's a difference between public and private property. For example, your home that you live in, your apartment that you live in your home, that is considered your domain. And you have a right to say, I do not want you to practice that in my home because that is your space. You pay the rent. It is considered yours to declare whether you want something to happen or not happen in it. Public property on a sidewalk, in a street, in a public park, it's a whole different story. So for example, if you were a Muslim and you did not want someone reading a Christian Bible in your home, you have a right to say that I don't want that read in my home. Now, that is a right because it's not interfering with the other person's right to do it. You're just saying you cannot do it here. And so that is why a mosque has a right to tell people who are on their property, you cannot preach the Christian gospel on our property because it's private property. So we have rights to say within our own property what happens, but we can't deny them the right in this country to practice it. So anyway. Yes, go ahead. I'm finished now. Any questions about anything we talked about tonight?
I have, teacher, I have 3 questions. I'm asking one of them. The question is, if we see the question, like, for example, number 10, what is the freedom of religion? So when during the citizenship, are they rephrasing the word or mostly the same word they're using?
They will ask the question exactly as it is printed. What is freedom of religion? So they will not mix the words up on that. They will give you the latitude, or they'll give you the opportunity to use words that communicate the correct answer, even if they're not the exact words. For you, for example, they will ask you specifically, what is freedom of religion? You can say, I can practice or I can do any religion that I choose, or any religion that is mine, or I can choose not to do any religion. Well, that's not exactly the words that are here, but that's acceptable.
Yes, it means my question was, if I don't understand his or her question, so can I ask him to, can you rephrase it, or can you change it in another way?
Yeah, they will to a certain degree, but then they're going to wonder, is it an English problem or is it a concept problem?
I think sometimes it's a word, you know, because some word, I think for us, because we are as a basic English learner, like most of us, probably if some word is a little hard, probably we will ask the question, so can you rephrase it, or can you say it in another word? I'm just saying, so is that okay?
They have the ability to do that, but most of them will choose to read the question just as it is, which is why I want to make sure you understand the questions very well.
Yes, yes. Okay, and the second question is, it is just you know, general question. I don't know why it come in my mind. If you think a lot of country, they take their independence from Great Britain, right?
Yes.
Is it still that the Great Britain is still, you know, because if you see India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, a lot of country, so they take their independence from Great Britain. So in the past, it is the Great Britain was, you know, enough powerful to be everywhere, or why it's some kind of, it looks like they was everywhere and everybody need to take their independence from Great Britain. So my question is, mostly the Great Britain is still this power or not anymore?
Not anymore. They were what we call an imperial nation that colonized much of the world, and they did much of that in the 15, 16, and 1700s. For example, there are countries that are independent countries, but still have an agreement, and they are part of what's called the Commonwealth of England. Canada fits in the Commonwealth, Australia fits in the Commonwealth, but they are independent countries. We are not part of the Commonwealth. We do not have any relationship, except it's where our heritage comes from in the US. They were colonizers. So in India and many parts of the world, they were the governing authority in those countries. And then each of those countries, like India in 1946, I think it was, in India declared their independence. Kenya declared their independence in 1963. So all of these different countries declared it. Yes, Britain was that powerful. They had the strongest navy and army on the world at one point.
But not anymore now.
Not anymore. Nope.
Okay. And the third one is, teacher, can you send this material to us? Do we have it and read it?
Yes, I will let Madam Viola answer that question. You are muted right now, Viola.
Sayed Agha asked me now, I sent it already. Can you open it now, Sayed?
Me too, Viola. I need a copy.
Yeah, I will put it in the group.
Thank you so much.
citizenship group. Yes.
Thank you. I need a copy.
Mr. Rasul, please
Uh,
can you type your phone number. I think it's the same. You gave it to me while I register you.
I give it my number. Yeah, just
Yeah.
put me on the
moment
group.
I register, I will send on it.
Okay, can send it to me. Yes, thank you.
Sure, I will.
Also, Viola, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you will also be able to print out for those who do not have a printer. And you can
Yes.
print them out and have them at the VOR offices for people to pick up
Yes.
if they need to.
I already printed. أنا كمان طبعت كل المعلومات دي 100 سؤال بالشرح بتاعهم. اللي عايز يجي المكتب ياخدهم واللي مش قادر يجي يدينا خبر بس واحنا هنشوف ندبر معاه ازاي يوصل لهم.
انا مس فيولا اذا بتقدري تبعتيهم لو PDF وانا بطبعهم.
مين؟
نغم.
نغم؟ ماشي يا نغم، هبعتهم لك دلوقتي حالا يا نغم.
كمان مس فيولا ابعتيهم اصلا انا ما فهمت عليه شو حكى وشو شرح، عرفتي بالاخير فخليني اترجم.
بدري معك 5 سنين يا نغم.
ايه لا ما هو 5 سنين بتحكي 100 سؤال، انت يعني كل سنه بنحفظ 10 منيح. بخلص ب5 سنين تحكي ب100 سؤال.
in US she just came 2 months ago. So I told her 5 years, you have to wait 5 years. She said me 100 questions. So every year I will study about the tour.
بعدين خاصة اشتغل ببطل فاضية ادرس، فبدرس من هلا عمان.
اوكي هبعتهم لك دلوقتي حالا.
I think she's doing this
انا
great.
مس فيولا ابعتيهم لي على الايميل.
Yes, doing very good.
My wife did it the same thing, and can you believe? Even I know English, she remember all of them.
Sometimes our wives are smarter than us, huh?
Yes, always.
Always. Spoken like a true diplomat. Yeah, it is one of the reasons that we offer this many times over.
على الواتساب.
Yeah. One of the reasons we offer this many times over is
me Viola, please.
I know that you are new to the country, new to the language.
Please. Can I get
as long as it takes, we are going to be here for you.
Thank you, Ms. Viola.
And if there
yeah معاكي الواتساب Thank you so much Viola.
You're welcome.
كمان مس فيولا ابعتيهم لي لو سمحتي.
لا يا سارة.
And if there are any suggestions any of you have that makes this better for you, please send those to Viola so that we can help you.
Thank you so much, Mark.
It is my privilege and honor to work with you. So
yeah, thank you so much.
Yes. And Viola, also let them all know we record these so that the lesson, the conversation afterwards and stuff isn't, but the lesson is recorded. So if you want to view this afterwards, let us know and you can hear the same explanations and watch this again as a video. So that's why they are recorded. All the personal conversation is cut out, so none of that happens. So you don't have to worry about any of that. So, the lesson part is the part that's recorded, so you can watch it over and over again if you choose to.
Thank you, sir. That's really appreciated.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Mr. Rasul, your neighbor, Mr. Mike, in Corona.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Very good. I'm going to say goodnight to all of you now. God bless you. You have a wonderful week, and we will see each other again 1 week from today.
Okay.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Good night and God bless.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.